Our second speaker is Jackson, so Tennessee University. The presentation is the effect of partial leaf harvest of three varieties of collard at three harvest interval when grown in wiregrass tunnel house. Thank you. This is your time.
My name is Terrence Jackson. I'm an environmental science graduate student at Tuskegee University. And the name of my presentation is the effects of partial leaf harvest on three varieties of collards at three harvesting intervals when grown in a wiregrass tunnel house. Introduction. Currently, the NRCS and USDA is offering financial assistance to underserved producers and beginner farmers to implement various conservation practices, which include tunnel houses. The tunnel house can be framed with wood or metal and covered in polyethylene plastic. Tunnel houses are used for small producers to extend their growing seasons from fall into early spring. Here we have a picture of a wiregrass tunnel house. The wiregrass tunnel house is kind of modified from a regular tunnel house. This is a wooden tunnel house, and instead of having just plastic on the sides, we also have a netting on the side to keep out pests. So in the morning we roll up the sides and we have that open. In many other tunnel houses, once you roll up the sides, it's just completely open. And this is a shot from inside the wiregrass tunnel house. You can kind of see the netting right there. Collards is one of the recommended plants to be grown in a tunnel house from the brassica plants. Collards can tolerate a wide range of temperatures, but does best when the temperatures range from 60 to 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Currently, Georgia is the largest producer of fresh market collards in the southeast United States with 13,000 acres valued at $60 million. Currently, collards are usually once over harvested and sold into bunches, consist of 3 to 4 plants. In this experiment, we are not bunching them by plants, we are actually cropping the collards. Problems. Previous studies have shown that collard leaves that are partially harvested 50% at 21-day intervals, the regrowth of the new leaves range from 117 to 184%. This suggests that the harvesting intervals could be less than 21 days, and which will allow the grower to have more harvest. Objective. Our first objective is to compare the yields at 18, 21, and 25 days intervals after partially harvesting 50% of all three varieties of collards. The second is to determine if there were variety differences across harvesting periods, and the third is to determine if the variety differences across the cropping intervals. Materials and methods. Our cultivars used was the heirloom variety, the Georgia Collards variety, and the high crop hybrid varieties. Plug transplants at 6 weeks old were spaced at 1 foot apart within the rows, and the plot size was 14 foot by 1.5 foot. And fertilizer was added based on the soil test results. Experimental design. On the far left side, we have the main plot, which are the harvesting periods. We have 4 harvesting periods. In the middle, we have the split plot, which are the harvesting intervals, which are the 18-day, the 21-day, and the 25-day intervals. And then on the far right, we have the split plot, which are the 3 varieties of that were grown in the wiregrass tunnel house. All plots were whole for weed control. Plots were drip irrigated 3 times a week, and at 102 days, the first harvest began and continued at 18, 21, and 25-day intervals. Harvesting procedures. All leaves of the plants were counted, starting with the basal whorls, and 50% of the leaves were then harvested. All the data was square root transformed and statistically analyzed. Here we have 2 shots of the wiregrass tunnel house. On the left-hand side is the tunnel house before cropping 50% of the leaves, and on the left-hand side is the tunnel house after cropping 50% of the leaves. And is another picture on the left-hand side. We have a picture of the tunnel house right at the third harvest. We have some bolting, and as you can see in the far right photo, we have some bolting in the with the heirlooms variety, and you'll see how that affected the data. Okay, results and discussions. With the first harvest at the 18-day cropping intervals, the heirloom variety had the highest yields, followed by the hybrid variety, then the Georgia Collards variety. At the 21-day interval period, the high crop hybrid had the highest, followed by the heirlooms, then the Georgia Collards. And at the 25-day, the high crop hybrid, followed by the Georgia Collards, then the heirloom variety. In the second harvest at the 18-day period, the hybrid had the highest, followed by the heirlooms, then the Georgia Collards. At the 21-day and 25-day, the hybrid had the highest, followed by the Georgia Collards, then we have the heirloom variety. And this trend continued for the third and fourth harvest. Right at the third harvest, we had a winter vortex, which drastically decreases the yields of the collards. And also we had bolting in the third and fourth harvesting period, which really affected the heirloom variety in the fourth harvesting period. And we had significant change in the cropping intervals, the varieties, the harvesting periods, and the cropping intervals, the harvesting periods by the varieties and the cropping intervals and varieties. In this chart, we have the interaction between the harvesting periods and the cropping intervals. And at the 18-day period, it's the highest over all four cropping intervals, followed by the 21-day, then the 25-day. Next, we have the interaction of harvesting periods by varieties, in which the hybrid variety was the highest, the Georgia Collards followed by the heirloom varieties. And as you can see, at the third harvesting period, it drastically dropped. But as after the vortex, we cropped all the plants, but the heirloom variety then bounced back after the 21-day period. And next we have the interaction of cropping intervals by varieties, in which the high crop hybrid variety had the highest over all four cropping intervals, followed by the Georgia Collards and then the heirloom variety. Conclusion. Among the three cropping intervals, the 18-day period significantly had the highest yield compared to the cropping intervals at 21 and 25 days for all harvesting periods. High crop hybrid had the highest yield among the varieties evaluated for all harvesting periods. High crop hybrid had the highest overall yield over all intervals, whereas heirlooms had the lowest. Georgia Collards intermediate yield between those of the high crop hybrid and the heirloom varieties. Acknowledgements. This study was funded by USDA, NIFA, Food Research Innovative Competitive Grant, USDA, NIFA, Extension Grant, USDA, NIFA, Evans Allen Research Grant, and Alabama AGNA 80 Grant. The author would like to thank the Carbon Integrated Sustainability Center at Tuskegee University for supporting this study, and as well as S&B Farms in Eufaula, Alabama, for allowing us to conduct this study on their farm. These are my references. Thank you. Any questions?
Any questions, please?
You gave at the end there, you summarized and said which varieties had the highest level of yield. Yet you had all those interactions going on. What level of significance were you using to look at yield?
We were actually, that's why we crop the plants, because most people, they don't crop, most large producers don't crop they just cut the entire plants and sell them in bunches. So we are looking at smaller producers and how they can get the highest yield. So we actually crop instead of pulling the whole plants up. So that's how we basically got the numbers for what we did.
Were they significantly different? Your very, very, very first chart.
Yeah, they were significantly different because after you crop, if you go and just totally cut out the first set of plants, there is no 18-day or second, third, or fourth harvesting period.
Right.
It's just the first harvesting period gets stopped right there. So you have to go back and replant all over again. And instead, what we did, we just planted crop 50% and see how did it react in the different, the 3 different intervals. So the 18-day interval was best, but the winter vortex and bolting is what significantly damaged the heirloom and the Georgia Collards variety. The hybrid was more susceptible to the temperature and it produced way more.
If you can go back to your very, very first yield slide that you had up there. Yeah, that one there. Are there any significant differences in there?
Yeah, with
You mentioned which did best and which didn't do best. I was
Yeah.
just wondering what level of significance you would say were best. Was there actually a significant difference between any of those, or among any of those numbers?
no, we really didn't see. It's the significant difference didn't really happen until at the end of the second, the beginning of the third harvesting period, when the vortex had hit and then the bolting started. But things were going good until that at the end of the second harvest.